If your photos are looking like this, you probably need to reevaluate your exposure plan. What's up, everybody? It's Brennan Williams. We're back with another video, and today we're going to be explaining the exposure triangle. For those that don't already know what the exposure triangle is, it is three main components of your settings that will allow you to interpret how over or underexposed your photos are. So those components are your ISO, your aperture, and your shutter speed. We're going to go more into detail about each of those and what they do. So we're going to be giving an analogy of the eye. Think of your aperture as your pupil, your shutter speed as your eyelid, and your ISO kind of like an eye drop that will make you less or more sensitive to the light. Your aperture being like your pupil, it measures and lets you see how much light is coming in by how open or closed it is, just like your pupil. So obviously, when your eyes are dilated, they're more open, letting more light in, or more closed, letting less light in, making your photo darker. And aperture is measured in f-stops, so you'll see it f2, f4, f8, so on and so forth. So the lower the number, the more blurry the background will be. So you'll see shots with f1.8 and the background will be really blurry, or you'll see photos with f30 and the background will be crystal clear, just as the subject as well. So imagine that your eyelid, every time you close it, could take a photo. If it's open for a long time, it's going to let a lot of light in and it'll be a lot brighter, and close and it has a lot of light coming in. But if you blank really fast, it's just a tiny little section for light to come in, so your photo will be darker. So if you have your shutter speed set for 10 seconds, it's going to be open for 10 seconds along all this light comes in, and then it takes a photo. So it'll be a lot brighter rather than you take maybe a 1/40th of a second and it's just quick. Just a little bit of light comes in. Shutter speed is also measured in a fraction, but it's just how long it is. Like, as I said, it'll be maybe 1 second or just 1, or like 1/40th a second, 1/40, stuff like that. So say you are going to the track and you want to capture a runner running, but you just want them to freeze in time. You don't want them to be blurry or anything. You will want a really fast shutter speed, so it just captures that moment really quickly, rather than maybe a waterfall or something where all the water is streaming down and you just want a long exposure time to get all the water flowing. You'll leave it open for a little longer, maybe a second or two, and you'll get it a nice blurry water coming down. And lastly but not least, we have our ISO, which is kind of like an eye drop that will make your eye more or less sensitive to light. You just want to keep your ISO low, because say you have a shot that even after adjusting your aperture and your shutter speed, it's just too dark and you don't want to adjust anymore because maybe your background's gonna be blurry and you don't want it to be. Then you're gonna use your ISO. You're gonna up the ISO maybe to 400, 800 or something, and then it'll make the photo just overall lighter. But the problem with that is if you increase it too much, it's gonna make your photo look really grainy and stuff, especially at nighttime. So you never want to use that first. You always want to keep it low, but if it's your last resort, you're just gonna have to raise it just a little bit just to make it a lighter photo. So now I'm gonna give you a real life example of how these come into play. So I have my camera here, and I'm just gonna take a photo just of my desk to explain it. So I have my aperture at 5.6, which is pretty normal. My ISO at 100, really low, like to keep it low, and my shutter speed at 1/20th of a second. So take that, and it is very dark, as you can see. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna up the shutter speed to 1/4 of a second. Now you see it's a lot lighter, but it's a lot more blurry because I upped the shutter, so it's not gonna be just stopped in time. So say you want to keep the shutter speed down, so you want it to be a really clean, crisp photo. So we're gonna bring the shutter back down to about 1/13th of a second. This time we're gonna bring our aperture down to 2.2. Actually, we're gonna go to 2.5. So now you can see it's lighter and the background's more blurry because we brought the aperture down. Okay, but say you want to keep your aperture at around higher. You want to keep it at 5.6, and you still want to keep your shutter speed down low at 1/15 of a second. Okay, so now this is where your last resort ISO comes in. We're gonna boost the ISO up to two. No, we're gonna go to 400. So we're gonna take that, and you'll see what it looks like. So that's when we boosted the ISO, just because we wanted to keep the 5.6 aperture, and we wanted to keep it at 1/15 of a second. As like the video is quick, I'm trying to upload around once a week if I can. It just depends, but I'm gonna just kind of try to keep uploading, making new videos. So let me know if you guys liked it below. Drop a subscribe button too. We're very new. We don't have like many at all, so be very, very appreciated if you guys will drop a subscribe button. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video.